Hello everybody, I'm Clare Cooley. This is Creativity with Claire on the Creativity Show. I love sharing the healing, life-enhancing, happiness-increasing creativity with you. I am doing a series on stenciling because of all my art forms, which there are many, because I just love to keep creating and keep learning and challenging myself, exploring, having fun. But of all the art forms, I think stenciling I'm starting with because it's so fun, fast, frugal, and we can create fabulous one-of-a-kind fashion, art to wear. This is one of the things that I created with stencils. A sweet friend, Sue Spencer, dropped this dress off she saw at a used store, and this got me going on stenciling. And I'm going to share a bunch of stuff with you today, including the 5 steps to creating your own stenciling and using it for art to wear, on walls for friezes. There's so many applications for it. Once you create a stencil, you can have it for life. So it's really fun, fast, frugal, fabulous art of stenciling. So the first thing we're going to show you today is the some results of stenciling that I've done just in the last couple months, maybe even last month, including modeling some of the stuff that I did this morning. So you see how fast it can happen. So Bodhi, if you could, my son Bodhi.
The black outfits?
Sure, we'll start with the black ones. The ones at the end are the ones I started with because they were just very inexpensive, low risk. If I messed up on them, I started with something that wouldn't be a big deal if I messed it up, because they're little exercise tops and my little skating dress and top. So I started with those, but they're probably at the end of this modeling the dark clothes first, which we're going to show you. And then we're going to show you some of the light clothes that I modeled this morning. And I thought, if not now, when am I going to model these things? I turned 70 this year, and like every woman, we're afraid we're not beautiful. We're afraid to be beautiful. The jealousy or lust or greed that might come at us if we are, and we're afraid not to be, that we won't be taken seriously or we won't be respected. So there's a lot of fear and negativity around being ourselves and embracing who we are and our own natural beauty. You can tell by my hair when I let it down that I don't even cut it, let alone dye it or curl it, or I've never done any of those things. I just let it grow out of my head and accept that's the way it is. There's no surgeries or Botox or any of that in my life. Only surgeries in my life are, teeth and have to do with baby. Bodhi had to be born cesarean. So I'm all about accept yourself. Everybody has their own beauty. Everybody has their own gifts and wisdom to share. And as a mature woman, when we have the most to say, we're most likely least listened to. So I'm all about the beauty of the different ages. Youthful beauty is one thing, but mature beauty is another. And the truest, most important beauty is how we treat ourselves, the other people, the world, living in respect and harmony with nature, one another, and being accepting and compassionate. So that beauty just keeps increasing. So let us be proud of ourselves and the wisdom, the experience, we have, and when we mature and we have more to say, it's more important to step up and share it with the world, which is why I share creativity, because it's what helped me through some really tough stuff in life. As Serena Catania said in an interview with her, she was one of the co-founders of Sundance Film Festival. And when she interviewed me after reading my book, she said, "You've been through some of the toughest stuff a person can go through, but you're so positive." Well, I'm not always positive, but what brings me back to positivity is creative expression. If we express an emotion, it literally stimulates our immune system, and the joy and the meditative, creative reverie of creating is how I survived my difficult stuff, and that's why it's what I want to share with you. Our imaginations are the wealth that everybody has. Doesn't matter what kind of a family circumstances we're born into. Mine was very poor, dysfunctional, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff, abuse, neglect, all of it. Stopped going to school at 7. But I always had creativity as a resting place, as a place to renew and restore myself and replenish my well of inspiration. Nature is my muse, and I never run out of this. Outfit I'm wearing now is got warblers and wildflowers, and as we can see from the dark outfits, there's cranes, there's flowers, there's all sorts of things. And it's all around us, the beauty of the natural world, and it's our home. And the more we use our creativity to inspire ourselves, solve our problems, create gifts, the more we create instead of just consume the inexhaustible resources, love and imagination, the lighter we can walk on the planet, the better it is for the whole world, not just us, but the whole world, and not contributing to the carbon into the atmosphere or degrading things into the environment. Walk lightly on the earth and you know, be joyous while we do it. So I love to, like this used dress, everything you're seeing in these modeling were purchased at used stores. I haven't, besides socks and undies, I don't buy anything new, and haven't for many years, because I just love the treasure hunt of going to a used store, a secondhand store, and people give me things thinking, oh, she'll figure out something creative to do with this. So I love the adventure of using my imagination, like what can I do with this? Instead of what should I buy, I like what can I create? So that's my joy, and that's, you know, what I want to share with you, not just because it's fulfilling for me and better for our budgets to be economical and ecological, better for the planet. So that's a good thing, especially now. No better time than now to be using our joyous imaginations and as much as possible, and the resources as little as possible. So let's show now the art of stenciling is, as I said, you know, one of the easiest, most accessible of all the art forms that I've explored. And now I'm going to show you all you really need to know to get going is it all starts with the drawing, the stencil. Let's start with the drawings, and it starts with an inspiration, a drawing, and then there are some things we need to know. We're seeing these stencil designs. What makes a stencil design is basically the paint is going through the cutout area. So the lines have to have breaks. They have to not cross over each other. So that's what these drawings show you, a way to create images that will work for stencils, because the lines they create separate spaces to be cut out, and they can be cut out. I started with a razor blade, then an X-Acto knife, then I got a hot knife and used it, and then I thought, you know, I'm really loving making stencils, and I'm making a lot of them, so I got a Cricut stencil cutting machine, and it cuts for me, so I can have more time for the designing and painting and application of it. So now let's show the 5 steps, which is draw, the design, cut it out, whichever way you do it, with a razor blade or hot knife, or if you have a stencil cutter machine.
Nancy Dunn said, well said. I'm assuming that had to do with what you were talking about earlier.
Thank you, Nancy. Really appreciate, I really appreciate the feedback during, especially these social distancing time. It feels great. I've always wanted to get here, which is sharing with as many people as I can through this low impact on the environment, through the internet, instead of driving and flying and all of that. So I'm really grateful that my son and I have seized this time, these last few years of social distancing, to get to this point where we're both doing we both wrote books. I wrote my memoir, Incandescence Rising Above Darkness, because so many people asked me to and said it would help people because my stories help them. And then my son wrote his sci-fi fictional reimagining of Duluth called Northport, 1999. It's a sci-fi thriller, completely different than, obviously, than my memoir. I love supporting his creative imagination flowing, and him sharing himself, and he supports me. And he named us, he asked me to collaborate with him and named us Mother Son Productions. So we have a website where the videos that we have done together. And in fact, at 16, digitizing my art to help me, he said, Mom, I have to do a documentary on you. And he made his first movie. So I'm a very, very fortunate and very, very grateful mom that has a son who appreciates who I am and my creativity, and I appreciate him and his creativity. My mother was also an artist. 4 kids later, alcoholic husband, asthma. She really had no time to do her art, but she let me see art museums and let me see art, and always encouraged me to follow my own heart and express myself. And even when I would get frustrated with what I was doing, she'd say, oh, you'll figure it out, dear. You always do. You have your own way, and you'll get there. Don't worry. So I hope I wish everyone had someone like her, like my son, in their lives. And if it's not in your family, I certainly have challenging people in my family as well as supportive ones. We all do. So let the supportive ones into your inner sanctum where you create, and your safe place. And the people that can't be supportive for whatever reason, just love them at a distance. Keep them away from your tender, vulnerable creativity, because it is, to be creative, we have to trust and express what we can't predict is going to come out. And so we have to be safe and do that in an environment where we know it's not going to be demeaned or manipulated. So find those safe people and treasure them. And keep looking until you find them if you don't know who they are now. You may not know who they are. They may be in your life, but you haven't tested it to see if they can be supportive. And if they aren't, well, just next. So let's show the 5 steps of design a stencil. We showed the drawing. And then there's cut it out. Here's the Cricut cutter. And then here's the painting it on a kimono, and I did the little red crown on the Japanese crane by hand. And then there's peel up the stencil very carefully. You don't want to move it sideways while you're stenciling it. I'm going to show you the stencil brushes that work the best for stenciling in a moment. And after you take up the stencil, you want to let it dry. And then here's showing you the kimono I put the cranes on. And there's also going to be a little example of other ways you can use stencil. At the end of this clip, I think we have, do we have the walls?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
No, because I wasn't able to re-upload it. We can play that. It just will be a little bit less, a little bit lower quality than they're watching right now. But I will get that.
all right. Bodhi's going to get some video of using stencils on walls as friezes. I did some fish up in the 3rd floor bathroom, and I did different branches that I used in my restroom. And there's also, I used the same stencils on the walls as I did in a couple pieces of art that are in that same restroom. So it's very harmonious with all the silver. So let him, while he's finding that, let me have the full screen for showing the tools. Somebody, thank you very much, Dennis, for asking questions about the brushes. Stencil brushes are very particular. They're big and flat at the end. They don't come to a point, so that you can have in different widths depending on what stencil you're working on, what area, so they put the paint straight down through the gaps in the stencil. And I've had these stencil brushes for decades. You take care of them, you clean them, you let them dry upside down, and they last, well, we'll see how long they last, but they've lasted for decades. So that's stencil brushes, and of course there's for little spots you want to use regular brushes. I use little teacups, a small container to mix different colors. I don't like to waste anything if I can help it. I mix very little so that I don't have leftover to wash down the drain at the end. And I even use the leftover for another project. Like when I did the gold and I had to clean the brushes, I saved, or clean the stencils, I saved the gold, and then I used it with sea sponges to, on my placemats where they had gotten stained and weathered looking, I added the gold that was left over as another layer of patina to refresh those placemats. So I can always find a use for the leftover paint. I pride myself in not pouring any of it down the drain. if I can help it. So I clean the brushes and the stencils into a tray that then I use that paint for some other project. I use metallic inks. I use metallic paints, and I have this key for my paints, and they all have numbers at the top of them and the colors here. And these are acrylic paints, so that I don't have to open things looking for the color I need if I'm moving fast, and I look at my key. Where's the color I need? And there's the numbers on the top of the containers. Then there's the metallic golden is the product I use for the silver, bronze, copper, and gold. And I've had these for a really long time as well. And if they get a little thick, I add just a teeny bit of water, very little, so that it doesn't spread under the stencil. You want to keep it, you want it to flow right to where you put it, but you don't want it to get too thick. So sometimes I make it a little less thick with just a bit of water, very conservative. And I test on not precious fabric or paper first to make sure that the paint, the color, is the right thickness, not to spread under the stencil, but go right where you want it to go. And then you peel up the stencil very carefully. And it's magic every time. I've made 300 different stencils now, and every time I peel it up and see what has been painted on the fabric or paper or whatever surface, it's a little moment of wow. So I love that. I never get tired of it. Now, cleaning it, thank you for asking that question. Cold water, no soap, which is how I wash everything. I don't use soap because, well, I'm not getting, rolling around on the ground, so I don't need to. And if I have actually rebuilt a carburetor years ago on my little Volkswagen, and I use soap on my hands after that. And I would put it on a funky, overalls to do jobs like that. And then you might need some soap. But generally in life, I don't need to use soap for laundry at all, and I never use any other products. I don't need to use them. I don't need to put them into the water table, and so I don't. And so I use cold water, better for the environment, not to have to heat water, no soap. And then I might dry it for a couple minutes after it's been stenciled. If it's totally dry, the paint, then the cold water wash, no problem. Delicate cycle, no reason to rough it up. Hand wash, fine. And then I might put it in the dryer for just a couple minutes and snap it out and hang it so that it takes less ironing to make it neat. And that's all there is to it. I literally have a sarong scarf that's maybe 20 years old that I've washed a number of times with the metallic paints and the metallic inks. It's fine. And I did hang it in a sun spot on the wall as a wall hanging, and it got a little faded because of the sun, because I didn't have UV glass on the windows. So I refreshed it a little bit, but the washing, cold water, gentle cycle, don't dry it other than just a minute or two so it's warm when you snap it out, get the wrinkles out, less ironing. Now you can see one of my favorite tricks is this ironing board. This is a perfect height to work on. And then I have a piece of glass that I put this tape around the edges so it can't get cut. And that's nice and cleanable, waterproof, very smooth to work on, so you can work on any surface if you have the stencil over the glass. Plus, even if it goes through the fabric or the paper or whatever you're stenciling on, it's not going to go through to the surface that's under it. So that's really, oh, one other thing. Permanent pens also work and don't wash out. There's a lot of fabric paints. Some I've experimented with, and many I haven't, but they should let you know if they're fabric paints that they will be okay to be washed once they're dried. So there's a lot of different mediums you can use to make your art to wear. And in my last long video, I talked about how I got started with creating art to wear with this beautiful suede coat that had some oil stains on it, and I just couldn't bear to not use it. So I gave myself permission to put tiger stripes on it, and it's beautiful. All these years later, I still love it. So that got me going, and then I, plain things, give them a little snazz, give them a little pizzazz, and express yourself, your unique fashion. And I don't ever think about this is in fashion and that's in fashion. I give myself permission. If I like it, I don't care if it was made 40 years ago. If it's a nice piece of clothing, that's all I care about. I'm not trying to be in style, fashionable. I'm just being me. And we don't have to, look at the magazines or what's current or who's wearing what. Just be yourself. Be what is comfortable and fun for you. And if you want to paint something just for the fun of it, or because there's some stains or some discoloration on it, give yourself permission to enjoy the process, express yourself, and make something completely unique. So did you find the friezes on the walls, Bo?
I did.
We're going to show you that. It's another application for stencils. Once you have a stencil, here, this is on the wall.
I'm gonna make it big.
Okay, and you can use them on clothes, on walls, on platters. There's as many different uses as you can imagine. And these acetate sheets that the stencils are cut from will last, if you take care of them, a lifetime. So I love stenciling and finding different ways to use it, and I've used it on dishes, walls, clothes, stationery, book covers, greeting cards, note cards, so many different things. And there's one of the golden metallic silver paint, and here's the stencils I did in my restroom. And then at the end of this little clip, you see the art I also created from those stencils. So that art in the same restroom is totally harmonious with the stencils. So there we go. I think I've covered it. I love doing these. I am going to take a break from the live streams, but I'm not going to stop doing the videos. They will always be available, any of them, all of them you can see on the Creativity Show, my YouTube channel. And I love to hear your thoughts, feedback, what you want me to show more of. and I'm going to keep it going and keep sharing creativity that, you know, increases our happiness, our health, and that it's a way to walk lightly on the planet, use our imaginations to solve problems, and have fun while we do it. So I'm going to take a break from the live streams because, well, quite frankly, 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon now is that the weather is so beautiful, we all want to be outside, including me. So I'm going to take a poll about when I come back to the live streams, what day, what time of day would be your vote? When would you like me to go live? I did get another grant to read more from my memoir in live stream, so I will be doing that. I'll let you know when on social media. And please give me your feedback as to what time and what day would be your vote for when to do live streams. But like I said, you can see them all on the Creativity Show on YouTube, my channel, The Creativity Show. And Bodhi, the movie maker, you can see his videos about building his own computer, a PC, so he could do virtual reality in his movie making, and he's sharing his Patreon platform where he puts out his book, his sci-fi thriller novel, Northport 1999. So he'll be on at 4 today, and I'm not sure if he's going to change the time for his live streams or keep it that. I'll let you hear from him what he's going to do there. But you can see his stuff anytime on Bodhi the Movie Maker, his YouTube channel. So thank you so much for being here, and if you haven't already subscribed so that you see what's coming out next, I really appreciate comments, subscribe, likes, and share with your friends. The part as an artist I don't know how to do is promote myself, so I really appreciate it when people share. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I see there's a handful of you. Thank you. Alrighty, ending the stream. Bye everybody.
Bye-bye.